tackle and defensive end, what's your confidence level in Borom and Wonnum if those guys, that they can be every down starter types, or do you have to, supplement that in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I've said in the past, I thought Borom put out good tape this year. I don't foresee that. You don't have a crystal ball, but from what the last thing I saw on tape, I do think that he's got starter level ability, and same as Wonnum. You're talking about guys that have been starters in the NFL, but just kind of look at where the trend is going, where the arrow is going. The last time they're still young, but we feel good about both of them, so we don't feel like it's we have to supplement them because.
But how do you feel like you address your needs and filled whatever holes you thought you had?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we did the best we could, and we maximized the resources that we had available, and that's my job to do that, and I think that we accomplished that.
So Brad Holmes is, guess who's back, talking pre-draft. I don't even know when the draft is. I ain't been following. I've been following just a smidget. So, he talked about he believed that the DJ Wonnum guy and the tackle they got, Bromsky, or the dude they got from Miami are starting caliber players. And he talked about they maximize what they can do in free agency based off what they, had to work with. So I'm kind of spit pimping on that. Also, they talked about, fifth year options, possibly pick it up for Jack and Jameer. They had conversations about that. But yeah, let's pretty much cook about, first and foremost, let's talk about the things that he said about, the starters. And he said, looking at the tape, he feel like those are starters. And in my opinion, I feel like if they were starters, why did you get them and you had limited resources? Was it that they had same money from other places, but you promised them to play? He's digging in the bottom of the barrel, and it all boils down to Lions being cheap. He got to make a 5-course meals with scraps. That's it. That's it with Brad Holmes. So Brad is basically telling y'all that I'm strapped. It ain't that he's strapped because, the salary cap. No, because Philadelphia, LA, a lot of teams manipulate the cap room and keep finding people. He's letting you know that the owners are strapping me. They don't want to spend the money. The facilities are trash. They cheap. I can't really go all out the way I want to go out. And that's what he pretty much saying in this scenario. He said, based on what I see, okay, you can say based on what you see, but you can see a starting caliber player. What Dan see, what they position coaches see. Because if you play with the church's money when it come to Jared Goff and you don't, get the right tackle to protect Jared Goff, you're going to be paying Taylor Decker something that, you wasn't intending on him paying him. Or if he signs somewhere else and say, I ain't playing, you're going to be ass out. So at the end of the day, it's hella smokescreen. Regardless, it's imperative they get a defensive end in the tackle. It's imperative. Somebody that can come in and impact the game. So you can say, I see them as starters. Nobody's seen that tackle from Miami as they starter if they can choose. If they had any options. Nobody's seen that defensive end they got from Carolina as they starter. If they came to Detroit, they mean they had no other options. No other viable options. You knew what Alquay Muhammad was and all that, and we'll see. But the first two picks, the very same two players that he said he expected to start, great depth signing. People going to get injured. You need to get an edge, or you need to get a defensive a tackle. You can't afford to play with not finding a tackle. You can't afford, even if you say, I'm going to move Sewell to left, I got to get a right tackle. I'm not mad at it. You can wait to the second round in that case, but in general, the ideal vision is to get a guy who can play right and who can play left. The most valuable position on offensive line damn near is finding you a left tackle. So I can just have a left tackle that can play right, or I can play him at left, and there's no drop off. That's the dream scenario. But if you want to play with the church's money within that way, and saying that, we might go safety, we might go corner, we might wait until later in the draft to get a defensive end and tackle, he can't afford to do that. But if you do, I don't have no expectations. Never, no year have expectations for the Lions. But let's move on. He talked about he did what he can do with the resources that he was given. They can't do shit because they don't want to circumvent the cap. They don't want to, allow them to spend the money they want to spend on. And the only thing they seem to be able to do is spend money on guys they already got. And in some scenarios, it hasn't really worked out, to be honest. Kirby Joseph got injured. Sam, not Sam Laporta. Amon Ra had, got paid and then dropped off last year. He was highest amongst drops. Everybody blamed the Trump dance or whatever. I mean, I don't really care. But they paid Panisa Will. He was banged up all last year. He a soldier though, but you got to give it to him. He definitely is a soldier. A lot of these guys that they didn't pay, they really ain't played at a high level. And this is why, they franchise tag these dudes. They try to get the best years out of them, and you pay them. A lot of these dudes get lax, but really J-Mo, they paid him. He had a horrible year. People blame John Morton, but people got to remember too. Ben Johnson didn't really care for J-Mo. Ben Johnson wasn't even getting. There was talks about should they cut J-Mo. Ben Johnson wasn't a fan of J-Mo. John Morton got a bad rap in a lot of situations, but Dan Campbell was the only one that can get J-Mo to cook. And a lot of that had to do with y'all boy Jared Goff. Goff and J-Mo, they ain't gonna never click. It's like oil and water. And that is what it is. But moving on from that, what he continue to say, I'm mad at it though, man. That's kind of like him telling y'all dry snitching like these motherfuckers cheap. That's basically what he doing. He dry snitching like these motherfuckers, they cheaper than motherfucker, y'all, man. I really want to go out there and hold it down and do my thug thizzle, man, and go all in. But these dudes, they cheap, man. They cheap. And they asked him again, if you go all out for a guy, if it's the right, it's rumors that they could trade Myles Garrett after June 1st. I keep telling y'all, man. So because of the cap hit, but that's another story for another day, right? I might do a video on that, I might not. But yeah, he can. They own this. The Fords don't want to win. I keep telling y'all that they want choir boys. They want to win just enough to get y'all money to sell y'all hope. They just want to win just enough to give y'all some hope, man. I keep saying that over and over again. They just want to sell to y'all just enough to give y'all some hope so y'all can continue to buy into that malarkey, man. This is Boulder Dash. I heard Ryan Parker say that. I ain't heard that since like middle school. This is Boulder Dash. But, but the 5th year option real quick. Obviously they can pay these guys. 5th year option, be smart. 5th year option them. See if they can, do it in their last year, and then, either you can tag them or you can pay them. Rule of thumb tells you with Jahmyr Gibbs, you tag them until you can't tag them no more. And if you fall off, you cut them or you pay them a reduced wage. So that's just what it is. Jack Campbell, you probably pay him, you probably tag him, you probably 5th year option, maybe tag him and then you pay him. So you string this out as much as possible. But if you're gonna pay somebody, Jack Campbell, you probably gonna pay him just because of how hard it is. You got rid of Alex Zoni. It's hard to find a good middle linebacker. They take a couple years to develop as well too, but hopefully they both get paid. But hey, hit the link in the description. Find me on X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch. The link under the description say find me everywhere. Find me everywhere there. Check out Detroit Lions Top Playlist. Peace.
Brad, organizationally, if there was a player out there, obviously not a quarterback, who you thought could put you over the top, even though there's no guarantee you'd get to the Super Bowl, would you, for lack of a better term, F the picks, go all in, whatever word you want to use? If you guys felt that there was a guy out there that would, in your mind, pretty close guarantee you'd get to the Super Bowl?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, if it's the right guy. Yeah. You guys know me. I feel like you guys get mad at me sometimes. I do that too much sometimes. But no, if we have that kind of conviction for a player, absolutely. We're gonna go and get him.